So first I want to start with I'm just really happy to be here, and I really want to thank Revolution Books for putting this important event on. Okay, so let's start. On September 21st, at least tens of thousands of people will be marching in the People's Climate March. Grab my glasses here. Buses and trains are going to be coming from up and down the East Coast and points west. Thousands of students from many campuses pouring in. Many who are beginning to see saving the planet as the mission of their generation. Scientist contingents, faith contingents, and many others being built. There's a growing burst of mass mobilization. Ads covering the subways, which people have probably seen. Students storming the dorms. Massive outreach really aimed at reaching millions of people, literally. Calls for direct action, summits, programs with really big names. This is shaping up to be an unprecedented moment of protest versus climate change. This is an exciting time, a tremendous opportunity to stand up to save the planet, to fight to save the planet together, and a time also for dialogue and debate over what is the source of this? What's the solution to this intensifying environmental catastrophe? The march and other events coincide with the world powers gathering for yet another summit on climate change. Now, these UN summits have gone on for decades, and over these decades, the climate crisis only continues to escalate. Greenhouse gases now building to the highest level in human history and accelerating. The world powers, and by that I mean principally the capitalist imperialist countries that dominate the economics and politics of the whole globe, have done nothing. They've done nothing of meaning to address this emergency. Instead, they talk about change. They wring their hands about the danger of climate change. They promise that now they will finally get serious and move towards a real climate treaty. While they do nothing of substance to stop this. Instead, they step up their mad dash to extract and burn fossil fuels, now in even more destructive and extreme ways. And the deforestation of the planet and other destructive practices fueling climate change also continue. September 21st is a moment to stand up against all of this, a moment to begin to wrench the planet off the path of destruction that it's on. The eyes of the world will be on New York City. People from all over the US, Canada, and also other countries are going to be coming to be part of this march and the other events that are taking place. And people are filled with an enormous sense of urgency and responsibility for the future of the planet. This is motivating them to come to this. People very broadly have the sense, if this emergency is to be addressed, it's up to us. It's up to world humanity. This is right. The Revolutionary Communist Party, the RCP, calls on you to join with this effort, to mobilize broadly, and to make this outpouring as powerful as possible. And we are organizing and building and invite you to become part of the contingent. Capitalism is destroying the planet. We need revolution, nothing less. And we want to talk about organizing this contingent after our discussion tonight. Now, as Clark said, the organizers of this march have said this is an invitation to change everything. They've said, with our future on the line and the whole world watching, we'll take a stand to bend the course of history. And they say also, to change everything, we need everyone on board. This is a very positive development, a good thing. Yes, we do need to change everything. We do need to bend and change the whole course of history. But what will it take to change everything? Can that happen under this system with its economics, its politics, its priorities? It cannot. Because this capitalist system is the barrier to where we need to go. To change everything, we need revolution, nothing less. But why is this so? What has brought us to this precipice? Is revolution realistic? Yes. And are we waiting for revolution? No, we're not. We'll get into this tonight. So I want to start by looking at some snapshots of the environmental emergency as it's actually happening on this planet today. Let's start with Indonesia, a world of tropical rainforest that's so rich in biological diversity. 200 unique orchid species, immense varieties of birds, the last remaining orangutans on the planet, an almost extinct species of rhinoceros. Within 20 years, it's predicted that these rainforests and these species will be gone. Why? Because US and European banks and their international financial institutions are financing the destruction of these rainforests to do what? Grow palm oil for the international market. Rich and unique life is being wiped out and global warming fueled. And the US government and the military are right at the heart of what has fueled this destruction in Indonesia. Backing a military coup in 1965, propping up rulers to enforce US strategic interests, drowning the people in blood, and wiping out nature for profit. The Philippines. Last year, Typhoon Haiyan Yolanda hit with the highest wind speeds. Is this okay, the level? Is it too? It's okay? Okay. Haiyan Yolanda hit the Philippines with the highest wind speeds in recorded human history. Its power likely enhanced by the warming oceans, and its storm surge made worse by already heightened sea levels from global warming. More than 10,000 people were killed, whole villages swallowed up by the oceans. And people here in New York City have experienced this too, right? With Hurricane Sandy, bringing massive destruction, wrecking people's lives. Now, these more extreme storms and weather are the symptoms of an accelerating climate emergency. Dramatic changes are coming in a torrent, including truly cataclysmic events, such as the now unpreventable collapse of the West Antarctic ice sheets that people might have heard about. This alone will cause a sea level rise of 10 feet. And now we hear that there's the possible approach of a tipping point that would make the melting of the Greenland ice sheets unstoppable. The melt of Greenland alone would raise sea levels 23 feet over the next centuries, possibly sooner. This would submerge whole island nations, coastlines where literally hundreds of millions of people live, some of the major cities of the world, including New York City. According to reports from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, climate change will vastly expand droughts, heat waves, and in other regions cause more intense rainfall and flooding. In a world that's dominated by imperialist relations, domination of the poor and oppressed by capitalism, with intense class and national divisions, these climate changes will lead to spreading war, conflict, and mass displacements and migrations of entire populations, whole countries. The poorest people on this planet who have done the least to cause this will be the ones that suffer and die disproportionately. This is criminal. This is outrageous. And the temperature rise that's predicted just over the next century, 5 to 8 degrees Fahrenheit, is kind of what scientists are saying now, may well, this is many scientists saying this, may well be incompatible with the continued existence of human civilization. And it isn't only climate change, unfortunately. Oceans are being acidified, ecosystems are being degraded and transformed, and there's an impending threat of mass extinction of species. We need to start from reality, and the reality, the most scientific understanding, the evidence is telling us we're facing a disaster in the making, and we don't have much time to change course. It's picking up speed. These are the stakes. We're talking about the future of our species on this planet. We're talking about the continued existence of the rich and wondrous natural ecosystems around the world that we love and cherish. And if we don't hurry up and protect and preserve these ecosystems, which we rely on to live, we will quite likely witness a qualitative unraveling and a degeneration of the natural world on this planet. But with that scientific understanding of the crisis, we also need the most scientific understanding of why governments, countries, and those sitting in the world's seats of power are not addressing this whole insane trajectory in the ways that would be needed to actually stop it and reverse it. We confront a global system of capitalism, imperialism. This is a system that rules the world and the lives of billions of people across this planet. It cannot and it will not meet the needs of humanity. It cannot and it will not stop waging wars and occupations. We're seeing this heart-wrenchingly again in Gaza and in Iraq. It cannot and it will not stop the police murdering our youth from Ferguson to LA to New York City. It cannot and it will not end the degradation and the oppression of women. And nor can this system safeguard the rich diversity of life on this planet. All of these outrages have the same source, the same root in this system. The problem is bigger than big oil. It's bigger than the corporations. Capitalism, imperialism is a whole profit-based system that treats people as objects of exploitation and the natural world as something to be grabbed and poured into production for profit. And this system is driven by certain rules of the game. Profit determines what gets produced and how. There is intense competition and rivalry among corporations to beat out rivals. There's rivalry among the great powers for control over resources, markets, and regions. And this all proceeds through the struggle for domination, through conflict, through war, and the exploitation and the domination of entire peoples and countries in the oppressed nations of the Third World. Capitalism can't be made to act according to different rules than those that make it what it is and that characterize the way the whole thing functions, even if those rules mean bringing on an environmental catastrophe. Fossil fuels are not, no, a rogue industry. They're foundational to the whole profitable functioning of this system. 7 out of 10 of the world's largest capitalist corporations are oil companies or car companies. And fossil fuels are also foundational to capitalism's strategic requirements. The US military depends on oil, and great power over control over oil, gas, and energy in general provides leverage over the whole world economy. The problem is not that the whole political system is too cozy with or even simply controlled by the corporations. It's in fact the economic, political, and ruling force of a vicious capitalist system that's backed by organized violence, by the military, the police, the courts, and the prisons, as well as the media spokespeople representing their interests as well. And this apparatus is the fundamental guarantee of its domination over the masses of people globally. To capital, the destruction of Earth's atmosphere, the seas and the rivers, the magnificent species that populate this Earth, they're of no consequence in their drive to beat out rivals at the global level. Capitalism is indeed completely incapable of being a fit caretaker of the planet. Now, the capitalist imperialist system has brought us to the brink of catastrophe. Only the most radical revolution in human history that liberates human beings and ends the ravaging of the planet can cope with the environmental crisis on the scale and with the urgency that's required. We must save the planet. We must protect our future, and we also must emancipate humanity from war, poverty, mass incarceration, vicious police murder, the enslavement and the degradation of women, and so much unnecessary suffering and oppression that takes place on this planet every day. Bob Avakian, BA, has developed a strategy for revolution and a vision and a framework for a radically new state power in society. Communist revolution is about emancipating all of humanity. It's about digging up all the roots of oppression and exploitation and creating a world in which human beings can truly flourish. And it's about enabling humanity to become caretakers of the planet. The Constitution for the New Socialist Republic in North America, the draft proposal, which we have here, the Revolution Books, is inspired by BA's new synthesis of communism, and it makes as one of its fundamental principles governing the new society, quote, protecting, preserving, and enhancing the ecosystems and biodiversity of the planet for current and future generations. Think about that as where we need to go. We need a very different kind of society and economy. that has the means and the orientation to prioritize the flourishing of human potential and to devote the necessary resources, creativity, and expertise to address the planetary environmental emergency. Now we're looking at the scope and the speed of this environmental crisis, this whole emergency, scientifically and soberly. This is an accelerating crisis with building momentum. In a socialist society, profit will no longer rule. Resources and know-how can be applied to the environmental emergency. But it's going to be an intense and a high-wire struggle to deal with all the impacts of environmental destruction that this system has brought and the destruction that it's already guaranteed. But revolution and a new socialist society that's moving towards communism is our only chance of achieving a truly sustainable and liberatory society and beginning the process of restoring the ecosystems of the planet. And the new synthesis of communism that BA has developed can enable the new society to mobilize the great initiative and creativity of scientists and the masses of people very broadly. It can unleash people to work together, to learn from each other, to confront and act on the environmental crisis with the societal and the global urgency that are required. And the RCP has developed key principles of socialist sustainable development, providing a basic means and approach for the first time to address and move to save the planet for real. And these are, people should definitely get this if you don't have it. It's a special issue on the environmental emergency, the plunder of our planet, the environmental catastrophe, and the real revolutionary solution. And these key principles are in here. To put it shortly, these principles would put the preservation, and think about this in terms of really what's needed in the world and what other solutions are put out by different people. Put the preservation of ecosystems of the entire planet above the new society's own national development. Share scientific knowledge and technology to tackle environmental problems worldwide. Move decisively away from reliance on fossil fuels and develop ecologically sound technology. Develop sustainable cities full of life and culture. Struggle against and move away from consumerism, and decisively put an end to an economy based on the exploitation of the world's people and the reckless destruction of the planet. This is a society and economy that will be promoting the advance of revolution throughout the world. Ultimately, this crisis can only be dealt with on a global scale. Imagine a society for a minute. Imagine a society where the land, the atmosphere, the oceans and the rivers, the wild species, and the natural world in general are cherished, where human beings are truly emancipated and also taught to protect and learn from all that nature has to teach. This is the world we need. Now, by revolution, I want to clarify, we mean an actual revolution, not just a lot of upheaval or a gigantic mass movement. We mean when the conditions have been brought into being in the future, when there are millions of people ready to put it on the line for revolution, when there is much more crisis in government and the system, at that time would be the time to move, to make an actual revolution, and to hold nothing back. To meet and defeat the enemy forces, to dismantle this system and build a new economy, new political institutions, a new socialist society in transition to communism, which would be a world no longer divided into classes. This is what we're preparing the ground, the people, and the party for. Now, people often say the situation is too dire for some future revolution. We need something more practical, they say. Yes, the situation is urgent. It's critical. And yes, we can't wait. But we're not waiting. Here's the question. Should we deal with this emergency by hoping to pressure capitalism to come to its senses and reform? Or by building a fight to put an end to this system that has brought us to this precipice? This is the question. Do we want to gear our fight to fight to reform a system that at its very root is compelled to destroy nature and people? Or should our fight, our standing up to stop the destruction on Earth, be linked to building a movement to do away with the source of this destruction? This is the question. We're standing up and fighting back now. We're building a movement for this revolution. Right now, we're making real our approach, fight the power, transform the people for revolution. In Ferguson, the RCP went into the middle of this resistance there, to stand with the defiant ones, to stand up against police attack, to demand this shit end, to demand that this killer cop be jailed and tried, and connecting revolution to all the people standing up and spreading this. In Texas, our party united with many others, women and men from Stop Patriarchy, to go into the midst of real monsters to fight to stop the closing of abortion clinics that would have made abortion almost completely unavailable to women there, enslaving women to forced reproduction. And this struggle continues. We're mobilizing people in connection with the People's Climate March to join with us in this powerful and lively contingent for September 21st. And this struggle to stop the destruction of our planet needs to go to a whole new level, including important struggles to stop fracking and the massive expansion of fossil fuels, drilling and extraction on every front, to stop the expansion of the shipping by destructive pipelines and exploding trains of oil, gas, and coal. That shit needs to be left in the ground. Now, one very important question, political question that's come up in the political debate around this march, and this is the political line that's coming from the ruling class, Obama, etc., but it's also unfortunately been taken up by a number of prominent movement activists, that what is needed is for the US to finally lead on climate change. First of all, the truth is that the US has been leading on climate change. Leading by being the largest destroyer of the planet, the largest producer of greenhouse gases historically. And let's remember, the US military and all its criminal wars of empire is fueled by rivers of oil. The military, US military, is the largest institutional consumer of oil on the planet. Let's look at some other basic facts. Now, there was an interesting article by professor and author Michael Clare that I don't know if people saw. It was a pretty valuable piece. And it was titled appropriately, Global Warming President Presides Over Drill Baby Drill America. I thought this was pretty good. Clare says that far from moving toward a post-petroleum economy, as Obama promised when he took office, right? This is what he promised. U.S. oil consumption is going way up, and it's predicted to keep rising. The U.S. posted the largest increase in oil production of any country in the world in 2011 through 2013, moving toward becoming the largest producer of oil in the world. What has Obama done? Let's look at some of these things. His Bureau of Ocean Energy Management is reopening a huge swath of the Atlantic Ocean, from Florida to Delaware, to new oil and gas exploration. And these are from, this next part is from a White House fact sheet, talking about Obama's accomplishments on energy. His accomplishments? Increasing sales of leases for oil and gas on federal lands to a new level. Increasing the speed at which permits are issued for drilling. And opening up an additional 59 million acres for gas and oil drilling in the Gulf of Mexico, where we already saw the horrendous BP Gulf oil disaster. Obama has pushed forward a massive spread of fracking for natural gas. He talks about finally doing something to cut emissions from power plants and has proposed pitiful cuts compared to what's needed, which may not even happen at all anyway. Obama calls natural gas a bridge fuel to the future, but this is just doublespeak. Natural methane gas is a fossil fuel, a powerful greenhouse gas, more powerful than carbon dioxide. And these plans of Obama's lock in fossil fuel production when what is needed is an immediate transition to clean energy. Immediately, that's what's needed. And beyond this, fracking is an environmental catastrophe. It's a horror. Poisoning people's water, and people all over the country. And now they want to expand this worldwide. On top of this, for the U.S., these vast new reserves of natural gas are a weapon. They see this as a weapon of strategic control and domination of the world's economies. They're a weapon to contend with Russia over the Ukraine. And this is a way they're trying to bring Iran to heel with use of these reserves. In fact, Obama's senior advisor in national security, Tom Donilon, says that these fossil fuel reserves are, quote, affording us a stronger hand in pursuing and implementing our international security goals. Are these the people? Is this the system that we want to lead on climate change? Increasingly, Obama and the U.S., including its military, they understand that climate change is going to bring massive upheaval and chaos throughout the world. But they're only capable of dealing with this from the economics and the politics of their system of capitalism. The very system that's causing this wants to make damn sure that it survives and it remains in power no matter what catastrophe comes. And part of this is trying to fool people into believing that they're going to actually lead and do something about climate change, while doing nothing, essentially, and continuing, even frantically stepping up their battle to beat out other competitors for control of fossil fuel supplies, because this is what's actually going on. Getting behind this idea that the U.S. must lead is to fall prey to and to be used by the demands of this criminal enterprise. It's to line up behind its mangling and its devastation of the world's people and our planet. No, we must fight for a world not where the U.S. leads, but where the U.S. empire is gone. We must stand with the people of the whole world, the ones who are suffering most from this oppression, the ones whose lives lie in the path of environmental destruction and war and oppression. To all those who care about the planet, and especially those coming out to September 21st, we say, be true to your convictions. Follow through on your principles to save the planet, whatever the obstacles, whatever the pressures and difficulties. Don't lower your sights when you come up against the magnitude of what we're facing, or when the people running this system display their enormous power and their ruthlessness. Activists, don't adapt to the so-called realities of the system, that you can't go beyond certain bounds. Don't lower things to struggles that appeal to people based on not in my backyard, or from the killing confines of looking at the world as an American. If you're a scientist, don't water down your findings and their implications because of pressures from industry, government, or academia. This stand is an important and a basic dividing line at a time when the future of the whole planet is at stake. At the same time, the revolution will be there with you in the midst of these important battles, standing side by side, bringing our full revolutionary perspective into the swirl. We invite those of you searching for alternatives to this madness to learn about this revolution, become part of building this movement for revolution. Check out Revolution Books, relate to the store here. Find out more about its work and participate in all the programs and discussions and events we're hosting here, including on the environmental crisis, but also things like standing up against things like this vicious police murder of Michael Brown in Ferguson, and especially right now in joining this resistance into building for and organizing for a whole month of resistance to stop mass incarceration in October. This is coming right after the People's Climate March. This is an extremely crucial struggle that's about stopping the whole genocidal way that this system is moving to lock up, lock down, and kill off Black and Latino people. This must be stopped. Check out the website, revcom.us, where you can learn about Bob Avakian's new synthesis of communism and the whole strategy for revolution. There is an actual answer. There's a way out for humanity, a way we can move in relation to this crisis. Learn about how this movement for revolution is being built and engage the most crucial questions confronting humanity. Most importantly, as Clark pointed out, come to the historic dialogue with Cornel West, Revolutionary Christian, and Bob Avakian revolutionary communist leader of the Revolutionary Communist Party. November 15th, Riverside Church in Harlem. And the title of that dialogue again is Revolution and Religion, the Fight for Emancipation and the Role of Religion. I'm going to hold this up. This is a poster for the event. Everybody should get some of these and spread them all over the place. This is an event that can help change the entire political terrain and really open up the possibility and the forces to fight for a completely different world. Be there, November 15th. Get into the special issue of Revolution newspaper that I held up before, The State of Emergency, The Plunder of Our Planet, and the Real Revolutionary Solution. Okay, to close, we bring a passion to save the earth and emancipate world humanity into these protests and this movement. If you're deeply concerned about the future of our planet, and you sense that a truly radical solution is required to deal with the immensity of this crisis that we're facing, get connected with the capitalism is destroying the planet. We need revolution, nothing less contingent. If you want to work and struggle for a world where humanity can thrive, free from all exploitation and oppression, and where human society can be a caretaker, not a destroyer of the earth, then join this contingent. The contingent will radiate with spirit, power, and internationalism, that the whole world comes first, that there's a way out, there's a way forward. Students, people from the oppressed communities, activists, and others are all going to be marching together. This contingent needs to grow, and it can be a vital way to impact the resistance edge of this People's Climate March against the system. And also, very importantly, to accumulate forces for revolution, which is what we really need. We need a revolution. So get with this contingent. Work with it so it exerts a powerful force on society and on the march. Let's start this whole dynamic of mutual struggle and engagement now, going into September 21st and beyond. Let's get an exciting process going, opening up all kinds of discussion, dialogue, and debate, learning from each other, testing out different ideas and perspectives, and mobilizing millions, and not stop until we have truly changed the course of everything. Thanks.